Hey friends, I hope everyone is having a great evening, or if you're watching it during the day, hope you're having a great day. I am here to talk about something I've been wanting to make a video on for the last 2 months. I found a house. So a lot of you guys know, my friends, people who follow me, know that I've been praying and believing God for a house most all of this year, and I needed to be out of my house about 2.5 months ago, of the former house that I was in. And so I made a video about a month and a half before I had to get out, and I was just wanting, the whole purpose of me doing this YouTube video is sharing the journey, and not just sharing the after effect of, hey, this is how God worked and this is the answer, but actually sharing the journey. And so I had made a video when I had to be out, and I had no idea what I was going to do. A lot of rent situations I felt like were a little pricey, or a lot pricey for my price range, and for the family I have and different things. Like I can't just like get a little 1-bedroom apartment. So because God, the creator of the universe, is my daddy, I felt like I could believe for something better than what just everyone on the street can go out and get every day. So I was praying for it. I made a video, and I just tell you, I'm going to tell the story, not the whole story, because I tried to do that this past weekend, and it was 47 minutes long. So I'm gonna have to like chop it all up. I'm just making a whole new video and gonna leave out a bunch of stuff. So, but I am excited to just share. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So anyway, so I made this video, believing God for a house, had to be out in a month and a half. And I posted it. As soon as I posted the video, that video, I had several of my friends that saw it, and they were like, oh, I saw this house for rent, or they're keeping their eyes open, ears open for me. I had some great people like send some great stuff my way, but none of it was gonna work. One house I looked at was so, like, the kids' bedrooms, it was so small, like I didn't even know if I could fit a single size, like twin size bed and a dresser in there at the same time. Another house, a friend had called me and told me about a house that was a lot less than, a lot lower on my price range than I was looking for. She said it had it was an older home with like big rooms and hardwood floors, and there were some couple other perks about it, and I was like, wow, this sounds like an awesome deal. And I went to go look at it. For those of you who live in Springfield, it was on Walnut Street. Okay, so I'm thinking the nice side of Walnut Street. I drive out to it, and I'm driving on Walnut Street, driving past the square, and then it gets real sketchy real quick. And yeah, the house was great, but it was right next door to another house that was boarded up with people still living in it, saying no trespassing all over it. I'm like, I felt like it's a sketchy area. I felt a little uncomfortable just walking around at noon, and definitely like if I had my kids there, I wouldn't want them there. And so, so a couple different situations like that came up. I started feeling, a couple weeks went by, and now I'm down to like a month before I had to be out. I'm starting to feel a little discouraged, and I've really felt like the Lord was saying in my spirit, because I was talking, I talked to God just like I would a friend, and I'm like, God, like, am I gonna have to have a house that's like so small my kids can't even like hardly walk around, or like in the ghetto, like is this what I'm gonna have to come to? And in my spirit, he was saying that one verse that says, why so downcast, O my soul, put your hope in God and he will rescue you. And it's like I had this assurance in my spirit, but I was feeling nervous. I was feeling you know, I was hoping God was going to bring something like way before I needed it. And you know, we're down to a month, and you know, I have kids I'm responsible for, and I'm like, wow, what are we going to do? So I decided to get on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and Zillow and some of those things. I hadn't before because I really felt like God was going to put something together. The house that I lived in before, I was kind of in the same situation where I was needing somewhere to live. I was still in school, like, or just gotten out of massage school, and so my business hadn't taken off yet, and the Lord was really specific then. He like gave me, he said something pretty directly of basically saying, you know, I'm going to provide something. It's not something you're going to have to hustle for. You're going to be able to sit back and watch me do it. Like, this is something I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, Lord, just don't let the people around me like ask what I'm doing, what my plan is. Anyways, and so there was more to it than that. But anyways, and the Lord brought something amazing my way, where I got to live in this exotic house. It was so great. And so I kind of felt like he was going to do something like that again, but I didn't have like a direct word or anything like that to stand on. It was more of just like a feeling I had. Well, those first couple weeks went by, and I'm thinking, you know, like, I didn't have anything direct. I'm like, maybe, you know, it's just a feeling. Like, who knows if that feeling was just something I wanted it to work out that way, or if that was actually from God. So I was thinking, you know, maybe I should look up, you know, start trying to find something myself. So I spent the next couple weeks on those sites. And, you know, if you're trying to find a good deal, you gotta check those sites all the time. And so I spent 2 weeks looking at stuff, you know, several times a day, driving by things, calling on things to actually go look, and like nothing was sounding good. Like everything was the same. Yeah, everything was the same. I did find one at the end. It was kind of funny. I found one at the end that I was like, wow, this may actually be something really good. And I found it on Craigslist. It was a situation where there was basically I was going to have use of a basement in a very large home in a very beautiful neighborhood. It was like right by the neighborhood pool and tennis courts, and it was going to be cheaper and bigger than anything I had looked at, and it just sounded like a sweet deal. And, you know, there was a door that separated the basement, you know, from the top floor with a lock. So I was like, hey, this sounds great. And then I told all my people around me, like all the people who pray with me, pray for me that I know. I call them like they're in the corner ring, you know, in the boxing match with me, like they're in the corner. And I told my people about it, and no one was comfortable with it at all. Like no one liked the idea. And I'm thinking, you know, they thought about safety issues and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't think it's a big deal. Like people who rent, like the renter people have the key to your house, like, but no one felt comfortable with it. I will say, we did find out that he had 3 names. The guy who had the house, which, you know, maybe I'm a little whatever, but I'm like, oh, 3 names, like, that's not a big deal. Like, who knows what he has them for? But anyways, I didn't tell my people about that, but they felt uncomfortable with it. And so I was like, you know, I just felt like, even though this sounded like a great deal because it was so much cheaper, it was so much bigger, it was so much nicer than anything I had looked at, and I was needing to find a place within a week at this point, I was like, I've been praying about this too long for God to bring me something, and all of my praying people around me is uncomfortable with it. And so I was like, told the guy who had the house, I remember it was on a Monday morning, I was like, I'm not going to take the house. And, you know, like, because I feel like even though in life I know I'm not alone, in a lot of ways, sometimes it does feel like I am, just because I have so much on my shoulders. it's not a situation I'm super excited about. Like, I don't like to be in charge. And anyway, so I feel like I don't want to be like that Lone Ranger. You know, I want to have a listening ear to the people around me. And so even though to me, like, I'm thinking this sounds like a great idea, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pass on it because I'm going to trust God that he's watching after me and everything. And I'm listening to the people around me. So I called the guy who had that house on a Monday morning. I told him no, I wasn't going to go for it. And I remember I'm like, okay, God, we have a week, you know, a little less than a week at this point. And I remember praying, and I remember at one time during that week, at the beginning of the week, I was praying, and he said something about, you know, for those, I don't know if any of you guys have watched my video I made. I don't remember when I posted it. It was something about the glory of God, or I don't know. I think I'm wearing like a gray shirt with a maroon thing. Anyways, it was God had spoke something to me like in a worship service one time, like while I'm like crying, and like I have this like picture of this thing in my head, and basically the message was that he is walking me, like I am walking in the glory of God. Like he is showing his glory through my story, through my testimony, through all of this. His glory is being shown. And so I'm praying about this. I'm like, Lord, like I need a place, you know? And he's like, daughter, don't you remember? Like you're walking through my glory. I have something for you, and you're walking through my glory, and it's going to be a testimony to those around you. It's going to be a testimony to your kids and your family. And I'm like, okay, Lord. And it was so funny because that week, on one day, I have clients, and you know, some clients are quiet, some clients like to talk, and so the ones that like to talk, you know, they hear some stuff of what's going on in my life, and so I'm telling them, yeah, I need a place in a few days, like I'm believing God. And it was funny that this one day, one of the women said something about, you know, some story about how nothing was working out, and then she surrendered it to God and it all worked out. And I was like, I wonder if that was just coincidence or if that was like a confirmation from the Lord. And then the same day, someone said basically the same exact story, like different people, different, you know, but the same exact story. I'm like, okay, Lord, I get it. Like you're encouraging me here. And so that week, you know, some different things happen. I'm trying to like think, oh, what do I leave out? Anyway, so I'm going to back up 3 months right here. Okay, so 3 months before this situation happened, I got a message from a lady. I'm a massage therapist. I got a message from a lady that I had known from past homeschooling circles, hadn't talked to her for a decade, and she messages me and wants a gift certificate for her daughter. And so, you know, she lives like a little ways away. Of course, I'm not like, I don't deliver massage gift certificates, like they can come to me or I can meet them somewhere. And so I'm like, okay, like when you're in town, like just let me know, we can meet up. And anyways, a month goes by, we don't connect. And then I end up with a day with bad weather. And in one day I had 3 cancellations. And this is like one of my big work days. And you know, that hurts. So I think a couple people got sick. One person couldn't get out because of the weather. And I'm like, I have bills to pay. Like I was planning on making that money. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go deliver that gift certificate myself. And so, so I did. I went out to this lady's house. I had extra time, so we caught up. And in the midst of it, I tell her, oh, I believe in God for a house, da da da. And anyways, she's like, well, like they live in a beautiful home. And she's like, you know, when we bought this home, we had this little white farmhouse that came on the property, and you know, you could rent it. Like, right. My camera was out of storage. I need to delete some stuff. So anyway, she had said that I could rent this home. So this was, you know, 2 months before I needed to be out. Well, at the time I'm thinking, you know, she lives a ways out from from Springfield and from Ozark, like 30 minutes from my office. And I was just like, you know, I didn't know what God had for me. So I'm like, okay, I'll keep it in mind. And anyways, she's like, okay, well, just think of me if you need it, like coming up. So anyways, I'm down here to the wire, you know, and I have a couple days. I give her a call and I tell her, I'm like, you know, maybe I should come look at your house, you know, and because I had that in the back of my mind, and you know, just trying to feel out like what I'm supposed to be doing. So I come out to look at it. You know, a lot of the other homes, it was so weird. Like I would walk in a home and like it was almost like a sign sometimes, like I would feel like crying or like throwing up. Like when I come look at the house, I'm like, this is not from God because like I would not be feeling this way. So I kind of felt like when I walked in, if it was from the Lord, like I would just know, you know. So I walked in the house and it was, I'm just like praying as we're talking, you know, trying to get a feel for it. And she's talking to me and you know, she's like, well, because it's on our property, we take care of the yard, and some other perks about the house. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. There's some things about the house that I'll have to share in a different video and kind of the story around that, but I don't have time in this one, so I'm going to leave some of it out. Anyways, so we go out to talk, and we're talking all the details, and I'm like, having to leave, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, how much do you want for it? Duh. Anyways, and she's like, because they're Christians too, and she goes, well, you know, my husband and I prayed about it, and we have a figure in our mind, but we thought you could just pray about it and see what you could do. And I'm like, wow, well, that is like really nice, but I need a little pushback because, you know, I had to keep in mind that it was 30 minutes away from my office, and then like some other things, but I didn't want to offend by giving a price that was lower than they wanted. And so I'm like, you know, if like I really appreciate where you're coming from, but if you could just like tell me your figure that you're thinking, that would be really great. And so she told me, and like I was like, wow, like that is really generous. It was like, I'm not going to share it here, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. God's favor and God's blessing. I mean, like, it's almost like speechless. Like, I'm trying to like find the words. I'm just like, wow, like God is so good. And anyways, it was such a generous offer, and I told her that and how much I appreciated it. But I said, you know, I wanted to go home and sleep on it and pray about it because, you know, sometimes like the devil can bring you along good stuff that looks really good. And it's kind of like if you've seen The Matrix, you know, the woman in the red dress, you know, you turn around, then it's an agent, you know. And so I've been praying about it. I didn't want to miss hearing God's voice. You know, I really wanted what he wanted. And so, yeah, I slept on it. I talked to her the next day. You know, I saw it on a Friday. By Sunday, I was like, this is God's house. And that was actually the day I said that I needed an answer by. So Sunday or that Monday. And so we spent the rest of the week packing. We moved in, and, you know, there were certain things about the house, like it wasn't what I was expecting. And I could share more about that later too. But it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. And so when we start to move in, I'm like, I'm praying to the Lord. I'm like, you know, God, I'm so grateful, like, because it's such a good deal and everything, but it looked different than what I was expecting. And so, you know, as we pack, we move in. But I tell you what, we moved in on a Sunday, and by Tuesday, I remember it was Tuesday, everything had changed. It's amazing how God answers about what you need and fulfills the desires of your heart too. Like, this was not what I was expecting. It wasn't what I was picturing, and it is way better. And you know, like sometimes you'll hear people and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I was praying about it, and this must be the Lord's will. Well, I'm not going to get into all that, you know, but like sometimes you look at people's situations, excuse me, and I appreciate, like, coming from a standpoint of being grateful for where you are and being content and settling into the will of God. But there is the fact that it's like it's a war out there, you know. It's kind of like Daniel when he was praying and fasting for, you know, an answer from the Lord. And you know, a lot of people do a 21-day like Daniel fast, but like really, like Daniel, when he went to pray, he was praying and fasting till the answer came. And when he finally got the answer, the angel was like, you know, the answer was sent the day you set your face to God, you know, for this answer. But there was a war in the heaven, and it took 21 days for the war to be won. So like if Daniel would have stopped on day 5, he wouldn't have gotten the answer he got. And so, you know, the facts are we are in a war. Anyways, on Tuesday, a couple days after we had moved in, all the questions I had about different things with the house and like, why did God answer a prayer that I've been praying for so long and we're like 30 minutes from my office, and all these different questions, is totally, I'm just amazed at how God so answered our prayers. And it's like that verse that says, he will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think. He totally has. We, you know, now by Tuesday, we were getting settled in and moved in. There's a creek in back. The kids are out playing in the creek. They're running around the yard. It felt so settling. So I used to live in the country. For a long time we lived in the country, and then, you know, my whole world got turned around and a lot of things shifted, and you know, I gradually moved into the city, and I'm like, oh, this is so convenient, you know, I'm so close to everything, and you know, I live like in a cute neighborhood, like in the middle of town. I'm thinking like everyone's gonna stop by, it's gonna be like so fun, and you know, no one stops by, and and you know, it's like you never leave the city, like you never get away from everything. And so I had no idea how much me and the kids miss being in the country. I had no idea. If God would have answered my prayer like I thought he was going to, in some convenient place, like right by my office or right by the kids' stuff, like it would have answered what I was thinking I wanted, but it wouldn't have answered what I actually wanted and didn't even know that I wanted or that I needed. And so, oh my goodness, like we come out here and it just feels like we're leaving everything behind and we're coming to our own like private sanctuary, oasis, retreat place. Like it's amazing. I love being out here, and it's I just want to give glory to God, and I want to say so much stuff. That's why the other video was 47 minutes. I'll just have to make another video on something similar, you know, but share the rest of it. But it's just a testimony of God's goodness and his grace, and how he has walked me through this situation, holding my hand like a child in so many ways, and being that protective presence in my life, protecting me and guiding me, and anyways, and just the fact that he does answer the prayer of doing exceedingly abundantly above all that I could ask or think. He answered my prayer in a totally different way than I was expecting, in a much bigger way than I was expecting, in so many ways. And so anyways, I hope this has encouraged you. I know some of my favorite stories are the ones that are happening right now, of where God does amazing breakthroughs. And if you'd love to hear the rest of the story, feel free to share it with me sometime, because I can talk and I love to talk about God answering prayers. And like I said, I'll make another video to kind of share some of the other stuff. And so anyways, I hope you guys all have a great night or day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.